Welcome to part 25 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. Also, before we start, I upload content 3 to 5 times per week, so make sure to like and subscribe and hit that sweet notification bell now so you never miss new content. Isekai Sagwa, a Japanese citizen studying in Paris, committed one of the most shocking and vile acts discussed thus far on this series. But first, it's necessary to discuss the early life of this deranged individual. Sagawa's background reveals a deeply troubled upbringing with deep-rooted, disgusting desires, which he himself attributed to his physical insecurities and social ineptitude. And in terms of physical insecurities, his height and frame led to significant bullying throughout his life. Sagawa was only 4'7". Yes, you heard that correctly, 4'7", which put him approximately an entire foot shorter than his male peers. Despite seeking psychiatric help at a young age, Sagawa's morbid obsessions only intensified, culminating in the tragic event in Paris. Prior to traveling to France, he had attempted to partially consume a German woman who was studying in Japan. He had stalked her, then entered her bedroom, and then attempted to lop off a part of her rear to eat. The woman discovered his attempt and fought him off, and he was taken into custody by the authorities and charged with attempted SA. He did not admit the true nature of what he was trying to do at the time. In an absolutely insane twist, the German woman was paid off by Sagawa's wealthy family. In return for paying her off, she refused to testify against him, which brought the criminal complaint to an abrupt end. In June 1981, Sagwa, driven by long-standing cannibalistic fantasies, lured René Hardevelt, a fellow student, to his apartment with the pretext of working on poetry. Once alone, Sagawa shot Hardevelt in the back of the neck, which led to her immediate demise. In the days that followed, he engaged in unnatural activities with her body, including committing extremely indecent acts, as well as consuming her remains. Given that we're on YouTube, I can't go into any further details, but trust me on this, what he did was absolutely worse than you're imagining. Sagawa's appalling act didn't remain hidden for long. He was apprehended while trying to dispose of Hartveldt's remains in a park. The legal outcomes of Sagawa's crime were, to understate it somewhat, extremely controversial and rightfully sparked international outrage. After 2 years awaiting trial in a French prison, he was found legally insane by French authorities. As a result, he was deemed unfit to stand trial, leading to his indefinite commitment to a mental institution. However, due to legal complexities and jurisdictional issues, Sagawa was deported back to Japan. There, due to the lack of pertinent documents from France and a subsequent evaluation that declared him sane, he was released from custody without facing significant legal consequences. This series of events allowed Sagawa to walk free less than 5 years after the crime, a decision that was heavily criticized and remains contentious to this day. Upon his return to Japan, Issei Sagawa's notoriety took an unexpected turn, evolving into a kind of perverse celebrity status. He sought to profit from his notoriety, writing books and participating in media projects related to his crime. This led to a complex debate about the ethics of allowing criminals to profit from their actions and the cultural fascination with macabre crimes. Despite his gruesome crime, Sagawa found himself in the limelight, a development that raised serious questions about the intersection of infamy and fame in modern society. This not only allowed him to profit from his notoriety, but also entrenched his status as a public figure in Japan. He wrote books detailing his criminal act and thoughts, contributing to a morbid fascination with his persona. His literary works, including a best-selling account of his crime titled In the Fog, were met with a mixture of intrigue and revulsion. He also wrote, quote, investigative true crime accounts from his own perspective, which were apparently fairly well received. Further, and you're not going to believe me when I tell you this, but he was hired to work as a food critic writing restaurant reviews for a mainstream Japanese magazine. Moreover, Sagawa's involvement in entertainment extended beyond writing. He appeared in documentaries and exploitation films, sometimes portraying roles that disturbingly mirrored real-life events. There's one film role which I feel the need to mention here, and honestly, I wish I could describe this film more for you, but we're on YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized. However, I'll read the English translation of the title and I'll let you guess what sort of role Sagawa played in the film. Unfaithful wife, shameful torture. If you guess that he essentially played himself, then if I was giving out prizes, you would have now won a prize. To me, the real mystery here isn't Issei Sagawa's acts themselves. We've always been acutely aware that people are capable of committing profoundly evil and disgusting acts. In my view, the mystery here comes from why seemingly normal and well-adjusted people became so fascinated by an individual like this. Why would normal and well-adjusted people want to read a restaurant review of a guy who is only famous because he ended and consumed a human being? The fascination with Sagawa and similar figures can potentially be explained through various psychological lenses. One explanation lies in the concept of morbid curiosity, a natural human tendency to be curious about life's darker aspects. This curiosity can drive people towards information or individuals that society deems taboo or horrifying, like Sagawa. Basically, it's a way to explore the macabre side of life safely from a distance, without real-life consequences. Another psychological factor is the celebrity effect, where individuals gain notoriety or attention due to their actions, regardless of the moral implications. Sagawa's media presence post-release transformed him from a criminal into a figure of public intrigue, blurring the lines between notoriety and fame. People are drawn to celebrities, and Sagawa's unusual and disturbing backstory added an additional layer of fascination. Perhaps being drawn to Sagwa isn't too different from being drawn to stories of organized crime figures, or serial slayers or conquerors. There's also the aspect of forbidden knowledge that could be acquired by directly reading works that Sagawa wrote himself. After all, how often can you say you've read a food review by someone who has experienced the events experienced by Sagawa? I would hazard to say that almost no one has, and as such, the taboo nature of this first-hand knowledge goes back to my first point, with respect to morbid curiosity. At any rate, Sagawa lived out his life a free man, though his celebrity status eventually faded due to public pushback and general disgust. By the early part of this century, he was destitute, and he had the gall to complain that it was hard to live a normal life, given the crime he had committed. It's doubly difficult to have any sympathy for him, given that he was very comfortable with his status, when that status was generating income and a celebrity lifestyle for him. He passed away in 2022 at the age of 73, finally claiming that he regretted the life he lived and his deranged obsession. The Texas Blue Light Cemetery. This is a suggestion from community member Lord Owl. Thanks for this amazing suggestion. The Texas Blue Light Cemetery, officially known as the Hillendal Eggling Cemetery, is an abandoned graveyard located within Bear Creek Pioneers Park in Harris County, Texas. The cemetery has garnered attention and notoriety due to the supposed paranormal phenomena associated with it, particularly the mysterious blue glow reported to emanate from the grave sites at night. The cemetery was originally adjacent to the Bear Creek Methodist Church, and served as the final resting place for the early German settlers in Texas. These settlers were pioneers in the region, establishing farms that were instrumental in the settlement and development of the area. The phenomenon giving the cemetery its nickname, the blue light, is believed to be caused by the unique composition of the gravestones, which were quarried in Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. The stones contain labradorite, a mineral known for its striking blue sheen, which can cause a glowing effect under certain lighting conditions, such as at specific angles of sunlight or moonlight. Alternative explanations, which are commonly found online, suggest that the actual cause for the blue light is paranormal in nature. These theories suggest that the blue lights observed are the result of some form of paranormal or Fortean phenomena. Further individuals who support this theory cite what I'm about to discuss as further proof for the supernatural nature of the cemetery. The cemetery was abandoned when the Bear Creek Methodist Church relocated at the turn of the 20th century. According to paranormal theorists, the abandonment occurred due to supernatural occurrences at the cemetery. However, according to official records, the reason for the move was due to frequent flooding in the area. Further, at some point, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took control of the site and put up a 14-foot fence around it, rendering the cemetery officially inaccessible. The official reason for this is that the site has been subject to vandalism, grave robbing, and destructive, unsanctioned paranormal expeditions. Proponents of the paranormal theory rightfully claim that numerous sites which are subject to these issues aren't subject to the government taking them over and fencing them off. They cite this treatment of the site as proof of the veracity of the sites seen. Also, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any great photographic evidence of the blue lights, with the attached picture being the best evidence. Let me know in the comments whether you support the labradorite theory or the paranormal theory. Personally, I support the labradorite theory, but I will admit I find it strange that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has taken over the site. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive iceberg series in YouTube history, and I want you all along for the ride. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership, joining the Patreon, and joining the Discord. The Ararat Lunatic Asylum Haunting. The Ararat Lunatic Asylum, later known as Airedale Mental Hospital, has a dark and intricate history that has led to its reputation as one of Australia's most haunted locations. Constructed in the 1860s in Ararat, Victoria, the institution was originally designed to house the increasing number of so-called lunatics in the colony. The asylum was a self-contained town within a town, complete with its own market gardens, orchard, vineyard, and livestock. The facility, at its peak, employed over 500 staff and could accommodate around 1,000 patients. The building was viewed as a state-of-the-art facility at the time, with architectural features giving a less prison-style design than previous asylums. Initially, it accommodated not only the criminally insane but also individuals suffering from a range of mental health issues such as postpartum depression, epilepsy, and autism. Despite the variety of conditions treated, the methods employed ranged from neglectful to barbaric, with procedures like electroshock therapy and lobotomy performed en masse. An estimated 13,000 deaths occurred within its walls over its 130-year history, many of which were apparently derived from these barbaric, quote, treatments. The ghost stories of Ararat are as varied and numerous as its past patients, with some former staff being included amongst the ghosts. One of the most notorious spirits is that of Gary Webb, a ghost who physically assaults individuals and tells them to audibly, quote, get out of his room. Another prominent ghost, Nurse Carrie, is said to continue her rounds in the women's wards, with many reporting sightings and sounds associated with her presence. Whether there is any truth to the hauntings depends upon your view of ghosts and ghost stories in general. The power associated with haunted places is very real, even without a paranormal explanation. Mass hysteria can easily be induced in a place known for hauntings, and every unusual noise or flash of light can easily be interpreted as a spirit under these conditions. The Theft of the Hands of Juan Perón. This mystery was suggested by a Discord community member. Thanks for this wonderful suggestion, which I've never heard of or seen covered before. The theft of Juan Perón's hands is a bizarre and unresolved mystery in Argentine history that started with Perón, the president of Argentina, passing away in 1974. His remains were initially kept in the presidential residence until a military coup in March 1976, after which they were moved to the Perón family tomb in Chacarita Cemetery, Buenos Aires. In June 1987, 13 years after Perón's death, the Justicialist Party, a Peronist political party, received an anonymous letter. This letter claimed that Perón's hands, along with his army cap and sword, had been removed from his tomb. The letter also demanded an $8 million ransom for their return. When authorities inspected Perón's tomb, they found that it had indeed been broken into, and the items mentioned in the letter were missing. Initial investigations suggested the hands had been removed with a surgical instrument, but later reports indicated that an electric saw had been used instead. Adding to the mystery, there are indications that the theft might have had some level of official support, as the robbers reportedly used a key to enter the tomb. Despite efforts to solve this case, no suspects have ever been charged, and the hands have never been recovered. A special criminal investigation led by a judge was set up to specifically investigate the incident. During this criminal investigation, 6 men were arrested, but ultimately none were charged in relation to the incident. Interestingly, many individuals involved in the investigation, including the judge leading the investigation, have died under circumstances considered questionable by some. Historians and political scientists suggest that Perón's hands were viewed by many as a symbol of his power and leadership. They also suggest that their theft represents not only a physical loss, but also a symbolic attack on Peronism itself. As a quick aside, this is the political ideology propagated by Juan Perón and his followers. Clearly, an Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg is not the place to get into a deep discussion about politics. However, a few words on Peronism are necessary. As a complete outsider to this ideology, I've had some difficulty attempting to sum up this ideology in a sentence, but here goes nothing. In my view, Peronism looks to be a movement that explicitly rejects capitalism and communism. Instead, it chooses tenets a la carte without reference to an overall ideology such as communism or fascism. Anyway, back to the mystery itself, because it gets slightly weirder. Some theorists, notably Argentine author Damian Nabot, suggest that the hands were removed as part of a conspiracy by an Argentine Masonic lodge. Other theories suggest that a left-wing paramilitary group was responsible for the theft in response to having been wronged by Perón. Anyway, at present, the whereabouts of Juan Perón's hands remain unknown, and personally I imagine them being kept in a reliquary in a Masonic lodge in Argentina. The Casai Rex. The Casai Rex is a cryptid that has sparked interest and controversy since the first reported sighting in 1932. The tale begins with a plantation owner, John Johansson, observing rhinoceroses while trying to remain concealed. Suddenly, a massive creature, later termed the Casai Rex, reportedly emerged from the underbrush, attacking the rhinoceros. Johansson's servant fled, and Johansson himself fainted. Upon awakening, Johansson found the creature feasting on the rhinoceros. The description and existence of the Casai Rex have fueled much debate. It was initially depicted as a massive, theropod-like dinosaur, leading to speculation about surviving dinosaur species in the Congo region. However, critical analysis and subsequent investigations have cast significant doubt on these accounts. Two infamous photographs associated with the Kasai Rex have been exposed as hoaxes. One picture showed what appeared to be a tyrannosaur attacking a rhinoceros, but later investigations debunked this as an artful composition using a statue placed over the animal. Another depicted a creature resembling a large monitor lizard, which aligned with some theories that the Kasai Rex might be a previously unidentified species of giant lizard. However, the picture, which you can see on screen right now, may be the most obvious fake in history. Further, there are no reliable historical accounts of John Johansson or his servant actually being real people, though that isn't to say they didn't exist. Despite these revelations that basically every part of the story was faked, the story of the Kasai Rex continues to captivate and intrigue. Some speculate about mistaken identity, suggesting the alleged Kasai Rex could have been a misidentified or unusually large crocodile. Given the environment of the Congo, a region known for its dense and uncharted jungles, the hypothesis of encountering a massive, unknown animal is not entirely dismissed. However, the consensus amongst even the most die-hard cryptid enthusiasts is that the original Kasai Rex sightings was either a misinterpretation or a fabrication. The disappearance of Maisy and Shannon Alexander. In September 2008, the small community of Kitigan-Zibi, near Maniwaki, Quebec, Canada, was shaken by the disappearance of two Indigenous teenagers. And it's important to mention here that they are Indigenous, as Canada has an extremely significant problem with missing and slain Aboriginal girls and women. Maisy, 16 years old, and Shannon, 17 years old, were last seen in the early hours of September 6, 2008. They were reported missing by their families in the following days, with Maisy reported missing on September 9th and Shannon on September 10th. The initial investigation led to the conclusion that they were last seen together at Shannon Alexander's residence in Maniwaki. The circumstances under which they vanished were peculiar, as they left behind personal items such as their wallets, purses, and medication, leading to significant concern. Initially, the police treated the case as a situation where the teenagers might have run away. This delayed the start of an official search for more than a week, a decision that later became a major point of contention. The delay in the search effort was criticized, as the families and the local community felt that the urgency of the situation was not adequately recognized. In the wake of the lack of immediate action, the community organized its own search parties and even hired a private firm to investigate. A year after their disappearance, the investigation was taken over by Quebec's provincial police force, indicating the seriousness of the case. Despite the passage of time, there have been various efforts to keep the memory of Maisy and Shannon alive and to continue the search for them. In December 2015, police released updated composite sketches to reflect what Maisy and Shannon might look like at that time, aiming to reinvigorate public attention and aid in their identification. In July 2017, a tip prompted a search of a creek located near the reservation where they lived, but this yielded no results. Several leads have also been generated indicating that they may be residing in Ontario, near the Quebec border. However, there has been no confirmation of this. There have been no confirmed sightings of the two since September 2008. If you have any information whatsoever related to this case, please reach out to the Ontario Provincial Police Department or the Quebec Provincial Police with details. the Kappa. The Kappa is a mythical creature with roots deeply embedded in Japanese folklore as well as religion. Characteristically, Kappa are described as reptilian creatures with scaly skin in hues of yellow, green, and blue, sporting a tortoise shell on their backs. Their distinctive feature, a small bowl-like dent on their heads, called the Sara, holds water that is believed to be the source of their magical powers. This element underscores their vulnerability. Without it, they lose their strength and could potentially perish. Yet, if one were to refill the bowl, the Kappa would be bound by gratitude to serve the person until the person who saved it passed away. This led to supposed methods on how to trick a Kappa to spill its dish, allowing one to refill the dish and gain a powerful servant. The Kappa's politeness is one of its most significant weaknesses. If a person bows deeply to a Kappa, cultural etiquette dictates that the Kappa must return the gesture. If the person bows deep enough, this action forces the Kappa to reciprocate, causing the water in its dish to spill, rendering the Kappa powerless and immobilized. Other strategies include challenging it to a physical contest or a game of skill, generally a board game. Beware, though, if this is your approach to a Kappa, as Kappa are extremely skilled sumo wrestlers and also great board gamers. Another interesting way to neutralize a Kappa is to present your rear to it, and as the Kappa approaches, release a barrage of farts directly in its face. Historically, Kappa have been blamed for drownings, as folklore often depicted them luring humans and animals into water with their remarkable wrestling skills previously discussed. Their legend is filled with tales of their thirst for human blood, livers, or a theorized organ called the shirikodama, a ball said to contain the soul, situated within the buttocks. Yes, you heard that right. Kappas feast on what may be a description of the prostate. Despite these dark attributes, Kappa were also known to impart medical knowledge to humans, such as bone setting and the creation of medicinal salves. Transitioning into the Edo period, the portrayal of Kappa underwent significant transformation. Once feared for their deadly nature, Kappa were reimagined in illustrated books as comical or even endearing figures. Further, during this period, Kappa were often portrayed as perverts, generally for comic effect. In modern contexts, Kappa have transcended their ominous origins to become a cultural mascot of sorts. Their image has been sanitized and commercialized. They now feature in manga, commercials, and kids play with kawaii Kappa plushies. This evolution from feared creatures to beloved characters reflects a broader trend of yokai adaptation within Japanese media and pop culture. Further, this also fits the broader human cultural narrative of feared cryptids slowly becoming local mascots for the populations they once supposedly terrorized. Perhaps the most famous examples of this in the West are the Mothman becoming the symbol of Point Pleasant. And one more thing, Kappa are often placed next to dangerous bodies of water to discourage swimming by both children and adults. I've attached a number of signs to this entry, and I highly recommend that if you're only listening to this video, that you look at these Kappa signs now. We clearly need to get some of these signs over in North America. Our no swimming signs just can't compete. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. And if you're not in the Discord yet, remember to join now. We've got an active community of 50 members at this point, and the community is growing daily. Shout out to my patrons Kazak Cutie, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemoose. Also, Big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. Also to every viewer and listener, I love you a ton, and you make this all possible. Seriously, you're all absolute legends. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.